When Jordan Matthews bought his home in Willow Creek, he thought he had finally found peace. After years of working double shifts as a firefighter and saving every penny, the 38-year-old finally purchased a dream home, complete with a large backyard and a sparkling pool. For Jordan, the pool wasn't just a luxury, it was a place where his daughter, Maya, could laugh and play during the summer. But Jordan quickly learned that peace was a fragile thing. From the first week he moved in, his neighbor across the street, Mrs. Karen Whitaker, known in the neighborhood simply as Karen, had been watching him. She was the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association, though her power was mostly just nagging and intimidation. At first, it was little things. She would comment on the color of his front door, telling him it wasn't community-approved beige. She scolded him for parking his truck in the driveway overnight. And she insisted that he needed permission for having his American flag displayed. Jordan had learned to ignore her, keeping his responses polite and measured. But then, something stranger started happening. One Saturday morning, Jordan noticed the gate to his backyard pool was unlatched. He was certain he had locked it the night before. He shrugged it off, assuming he had been careless. But the following week, he returned from the fire station to find wet footprints around his pool deck. Maya hadn't been home. No one else had access. Someone had been using his pool. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Jordan set up a small motion-activated security camera facing the pool. What he saw the next day shocked him. There, in broad daylight, was Karen, lounging in his pool chair, sipping a soda she had clearly brought with her, and swimming in the pool like she owned it. Jordan's jaw tightened as he watched the footage. She hadn't asked. She hadn't knocked. She had simply helped herself. At first, he confronted her gently. "Karen," he said, knocking on her door with the footage pulled up on his phone. "I know you've been in my pool. You can't just enter my yard like that, it's trespassing." Karen smirked, her arms crossed. "Oh, please. The HOA owns everything visible from the street. That pool is a community asset. You should feel honored that I even use it. Most neighbors would pay to have me grace their property." Jordan took a slow breath, trying to keep his cool. "With all due respect, ma'am, I paid for that house and that pool. It isn't communal. If I catch you in my yard again, I'll have no choice but to involve the police." Karen's smile widened into a sneer. "Do it, and you'll regret it. Around here, the HOA makes the rules. You're just a guest in our neighborhood." As Jordan walked back to his home, his frustration boiled into something heavier. He had worked his whole life for this place. He wasn't about to let someone disrespect his home, or his dignity. But if Karen wanted to keep sneaking in, Jordan would make sure her next swim wasn't as relaxing as she expected. The next few days, Jordan planned carefully. He could have gone straight to the police, but he knew that would only escalate things with Karen. She thrived on drama, and worse, she loved playing the victim. If officers showed up, she'd spin a story about how he had threatened her, or how she had rights through the HOA. No, this needed a smarter approach. Jordan waited until he was sure Maya was spending the weekend with her grandmother. Then he set up his trap. First, he drained half the pool overnight, lowering the water level enough that diving in would be both awkward and embarrassing. Then, he adjusted the security system to send him live notifications whenever motion was detected. Finally, he placed a large laminated sign on the pool gate that read, "Private property. Trespassers will be recorded and prosecuted." He didn't have to wait long. Sunday afternoon, while Jordan was running errands, his phone buzzed. The camera picked up movement. He opened the feed and nearly laughed. Karen was back. She had a wide-brimmed sun hat, a towel slung over her arm, and a smug expression as she unlatched the gate and strutted into his backyard like she owned the place. She dropped her towel, kicked off her sandals, and, without even testing the water, leapt into the pool. The splash was massive. But instead of floating gracefully to the surface, Karen hit the unexpectedly shallow water with a loud oof, and came up sputtering, furious. "What the? Why is it so shallow?" she shouted, looking around. As she climbed out, dripping and coughing, her hat floated away. She stomped angrily across the wet concrete, only to slip, landing squarely on her backside with a yelp. Jordan, watching from his car parked nearby, chuckled quietly to himself. But the best part was yet to come. The security cameras captured everything: her trespassing, her embarrassing fall, and her loud rant as she stormed out of the yard. By evening, Jordan had downloaded the footage and sent it to both the HOA board and the local police department with a calm, professional note. "This individual has entered my private property multiple times without permission. I have video evidence and am requesting formal documentation of trespassing." The HOA board, though typically dominated by Karen's voice, couldn't ignore the footage. And the police, though cautious, scheduled a visit with her to discuss the complaint. Karen, however, wasn't done. If Jordan thought one embarrassing slip would stop her, he was wrong. She was going to fight back, and he needed to be ready. The fallout was swift. Within days, Karen was the talk of Willow Creek. Neighbors whispered about the footage, which had, somehow, leaked onto the community Facebook group. Comments poured in. She really thought the pool was hers? Trespassing is illegal, plain and simple. Finally, someone put Karen in her place. Karen, red-faced and humiliated, stormed from house to house, claiming Jordan had edited the footage to frame her. But the more she talked, the more ridiculous she sounded. When the police arrived at her doorstep with a formal warning for trespassing, her composure cracked. "He's lying. He's trying to ruin me," she shouted. The officer remained calm. "Ma'am, the footage is clear. If you continue to enter his property without permission, you'll be charged. This is your final warning." Karen slammed her door in their face, but the message was loud and clear: her reign of intimidation was over. Jordan, meanwhile, focused on what mattered most: his daughter. When Maya returned home, he explained everything honestly. "Dad, isn't she scared of getting arrested?" Maya asked. Jordan smiled softly. "Sometimes people think rules don't apply to them. But respect isn't something you can demand, it's something you earn. And if someone won't respect you, you stand your ground, calmly and firmly, until they have no choice." For weeks afterward, Karen kept her distance. She stopped patrolling the neighborhood with her clipboard, stopped barking at children riding their bikes, and, most importantly, stayed far away from Jordan's pool. And slowly, neighbors who had once avoided Jordan out of fear of Karen's disapproval began waving to him, striking up conversations, even inviting him to community barbecues. They had seen the truth: Karen's authority was nothing but a loud voice and empty threats. One evening, as Jordan relaxed on his porch while Maya splashed in the pool, his neighbor Mr. Rodriguez stopped by. "You handled that with class," he said. "Most people would have lost their temper. Instead, you showed all of us that bullies only win if you let them." Jordan nodded, watching his daughter's laughter light up the yard. "That's the lesson I want her to grow up with. Stand tall, but never lose yourself in the fight." From that day forward, Karen was no longer the queen of Willow Creek. She was just another neighbor, one who had learned the hard way that trespassing and arrogance come with consequences. And for Jordan and Maya, peace finally returned to their home, shimmering in the sunlight on the surface of their pool. White heavy checkmark moral of the story: true strength isn't in yelling louder or bullying others, it's in standing your ground with patience, intelligence, and dignity. Respect cannot be demanded, it must be earned.